Nobody saw this coming, not even the people closest to them. What started as a quiet rumor has now exploded into one of the most shocking twists fans have ever witnessed. Tamar Braxton and Mendeecees Harris are at the center of a situation so unexpected, so bold, that it has left fans speechless and scrambling for answers. And right in the middle of it all stands Yandy Smith, watching everything unfold in a way no one could have prepared her for. Sources are whispering about a marriage move that has crossed lines, broken trust, and stirred emotions to a boiling point. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, and the family? Completely divided. It all began with a series of subtle clues. A late-night appearance, a cryptic post, a moment caught on camera that people could not quite explain. At first, it seemed harmless. But then the story took a turn that no one expected. Tamar and Mendeecees were no longer just linked by rumors. They were making moves that hinted at something deeper, something serious, something permanent. And now the question everyone is asking is simple but explosive. Will Yandy allow this? Insiders claim that tensions have reached a breaking point. Words have been exchanged behind closed doors. Accusations have flown, and what was once a complicated love triangle has now turned into a full-blown emotional battlefield. You can feel it building. The silence before the storm. The kind of moment where everything is about to change, and nothing will ever go back to the way it was. Because this is not just about love anymore. This is about loyalty, respect, and a decision that could tear everything apart. The whispers did not start loud. They never do. It was a quiet moment, almost too small to notice, when Tamar and Mendeecees were first seen together in a way that did not feel accidental. Not at an event, not surrounded by cameras, but in a setting that felt private, deliberate. People brushed it off at first. After all, in their world, connections blur, friendships overlap, and rumors travel faster than truth. But this felt different. You really think this is a good idea? A close friend was heard asking Tamar, her voice low but tense. Tamar did not hesitate. I'm tired of playing safe. This time, I'm choosing what feels real. Those words would come back later, louder than anyone expected. Mendeecees, on the other hand, had been unusually quiet. Fans noticed it immediately. The man who once shared glimpses of his life without hesitation had suddenly pulled back. His posts became vague, his captions shorter, his presence distant. And when questions started flooding in, he gave nothing away. Just a simple response in one live session, almost dismissive. Y'all always trying to make something out of nothing. But behind that calm tone, something was shifting. Yandy felt it before she saw it. There was a distance in the air, a kind of silence that speaks louder than words. She had been here before, in situations where trust was tested and loyalty questioned. But this time, something in her gut told her this was not just another rumor to ignore. You've been acting strange, she said one evening, her voice steady but her eyes searching his face. What's really going on? Mendeecees leaned back, avoiding her gaze. Nothing you need to worry about. That answer did not sit well. Not with her. Not with anyone who knew how things usually unfolded. Because by the time the public caught on, it was no longer just whispers. It was evidence. A video surfaced. Short, grainy, but clear enough. Tamar and Mendeecees walking side by side, laughing in a way that felt too comfortable, too familiar. There was a moment, brief but undeniable, where his hand rested on her back just a second longer than it should have. Fans lost it. This ain't normal, one comment read. Yandy better see this, another said. And just like that, the internet turned into a battlefield. Yandy saw it. Of course she did. And when she did, everything changed. Tell me that's not what it looks like, she demanded, holding up her phone, her voice sharper now. Mendeecees exhaled slowly, as if buying time. You're letting people get in your head. Don't do that, she snapped. Don't make me feel crazy when I can see it. The tension in that room was thick. Heavy. The kind that does not fade, only grows. Outside of their world, things were spiraling fast. Tamar, never one to stay silent for long, decided to address the situation in her own way. Not directly, not at first, but with a post that sent shockwaves through everyone watching. When you know your worth, you stop asking for permission to be happy. Simple words, but the timing said everything. Fans connected the dots instantly. She talking about him, people wrote. This is messy, others added. And just when it seemed like things could not get more intense, a source close to the situation dropped a claim that changed everything. They were not just talking. They were planning something big. The phrase, marriage move, started circulating, and once it did, there was no stopping it. It sounded unbelievable, almost absurd, but the more details that came out, the more real it started to feel. You think I would ever disrespect you like that? Mendeecees finally said during one heated argument, his voice rising. Yandy's expression hardened. I don't know what you're capable of anymore. That line hit deeper than anything else. Because this was no longer about rumors. This was about trust breaking in real time. Friends began to take sides. Some stood firmly with Yandy, calling the situation unacceptable, saying lines had been crossed that could not be uncrossed. Others stayed quiet, choosing to watch from a distance, knowing that whatever was happening behind the scenes was bigger than what anyone could see. And then came the night that changed everything. A private gathering. No cameras, no public announcements. Just a small circle of people who thought they were witnessing something ordinary. Until it wasn't. Tamar stood there, confident, unshaken. Mendeecees beside her, calm but resolute. We're done hiding, she said, her voice clear. A few people exchanged glances. Confusion. Disbelief. What exactly are you saying? Someone asked. Mendeecees stepped forward slightly. We're making a decision, and we're not asking for approval. Those words landed like a shockwave. Because in that moment, it became painfully clear. Whatever this was, it was no longer a rumor. It was a choice. A deliberate, irreversible choice that would affect everyone involved. And somewhere else, miles away but emotionally right there in the center of it all, Yandy felt the shift before she even heard the details. The kind of feeling that tells you something has already gone too far. Her phone buzzed. One message. You need to hear this. She opened it slowly, her hands steady but her heart anything but. And as the words sank in, her expression changed. Not shock, not confusion. Something deeper. Something final. Because in that moment, she realized this was not just about betrayal anymore. This was about a line being crossed that could never be undone. This was about a line being crossed that could never be undone, and the moment that truth settled in, Yandy did not react the way people expected. She did not scream, she did not break down, she went quiet, and that silence made everyone around her uneasy, because when someone like her stops talking, it usually means she is already deciding what comes next. So this is what we doing now, she said later that night, her voice calm but cold in a way that cut deeper than anger ever could. You moving like I don't exist. Mendeecees tried to step closer, but she took a step back, creating a distance that felt symbolic more than physical. You're making this bigger than it is, he replied, his tone defensive but not as strong as before. Bigger than it is? Yandy let out a short laugh that held no humor. You standing next to another woman talking about decisions, and I'm supposed to think this is small. He ran his hand over his face, clearly feeling the pressure building from every direction. You don't understand everything yet. Then make me understand, she shot back instantly, because right now it looks like you already made a choice. That word choice hung in the air like a warning, and somewhere across the city Tamar was dealing with her own storm. Even though she appeared confident on the outside, those close to her knew she was aware of the chaos she had stepped into. They're coming for you hard, one of her friends told her, scrolling through comments that were getting more aggressive by the minute. People are calling you everything. Tamar did not flinch, she looked at her reflection, adjusting her hair slowly. They always do when a woman stops asking for permission. This is different, the friend insisted. This is not just drama, this is someone's marriage. Tamar paused for a second, just a second, but it was enough to show that she felt the weight of that truth even if she refused to fully acknowledge it. You think I don't know that? She replied quietly before her tone sharpened again, but don't act like I created this alone. And that was the part no one wanted to say out loud, because as much as fans wanted to blame Tamar, there were questions about Mendeecees' actions, 2 questions he was still avoiding. The next day everything escalated in a way no one could control. A leaked audio recording surfaced, and within minutes it was everywhere: blogs, fan pages, group chats. Everyone was listening to the same conversation on repeat, trying to piece together what was real and what was not. We don't have time to keep explaining ourselves, a voice that sounded like Tamar said clearly. Either we move forward or we let them control the narrative. Mendeecees' voice followed, lower but firm. I'm not scared of what people think. Then stop acting like it, she replied quickly, because hesitation is what's making this look worse. That clip was short, but it was enough to confirm what many feared. This was not random, this was planned. Fans were shocked, emotions ran high, and the family was left divided. He really doing this? One close relative reportedly said in disbelief, after everything they've been through. This ain't just about love anymore, another added, this is about respect. And respect was exactly what Yandy felt was slipping away piece by piece. When she finally decided to step outside and face the situation publicly, she did not hold back, but she did not reveal everything either. She chose her words carefully, which only made people listen harder. I've been quiet because I needed to understand what was happening, she said in a short video, her expression composed but her eyes heavy. but silence should never be mistaken for weakness. That line spread fast, people reposted it, added captions, turned it into statements of support. She about to snap, some fans warned. No, she about to move smart, others replied. And that difference mattered because while everyone expected an emotional reaction, what they were witnessing was something far more calculated. Meanwhile, Mendeecees was feeling the pressure from every side, calls, messages, confrontations. There was no escape, and for the first time his confidence started to crack. This is getting out of hand, he told Tamar during a tense conversation, his voice lower, now more uncertain. This ain't what I planned. Tamar crossed her arms, her expression unreadable. So what you saying now? I'm saying maybe we need to slow this down. Those words hit hard, and for the first time she looked at him not with confidence but with disbelief. Slow down? She repeated, her tone sharp. You think they gonna slow down for us? That's not what I mean, he tried to explain, but she cut him off. No, you just didn't think it would get this real, she said, stepping closer. You wanted the feeling without the consequences. That accusation landed, and he had no quick answer because deep down he knew there was truth in it. And just like that, the dynamic shifted again. Because now it was not just Yandy questioning him, it was Tamar too. The situation that once looked like a united front was starting to show cracks. And back at home, Yandy received another message, this one different from the rest. It was not gossip, it was not speculation, it was information, direct and undeniable. She read it once, then again, her face tightening slightly. They setting a date. Those 3 words changed everything again. Because whatever doubts were left, whatever hope that this might fade away, disappeared in that moment. This was moving forward fast, too fast for anyone to stop it. Yandy placed her phone down slowly, her mind racing but her expression steady. So that's what it is, she said to herself quietly. And for the first time since all of this started, there was no confusion left. Only clarity. And that clarity was dangerous. Because when someone knows exactly what they are dealing with, they stop reacting and start acting. And what Yandy was about to do next was something no one saw coming. Because instead of chasing answers or confronting them again, she started pulling back in a way that felt controlled, almost strategic. She stopped calling, stopped texting, stopped reacting publicly, and that silence created a different kind of pressure, one that neither Tamar nor Mendeecees were prepared for. Why's she so quiet? Mendeecees asked during a late-night conversation, pacing back and forth with his phone in his hand. This ain't like her. Tamar watched him carefully, her eyes narrowing slightly. Maybe she done playing the game. This ain't no game, he snapped a little too quickly, then caught himself lowering his tone. You know what I mean. Do I? Tamar replied, her voice calm but sharp. Because from where I'm standing it looks like you the one confused. That word confused hit something deeper than he expected, because the truth was he was feeling it too. The situation had moved faster than he thought possible, and now everything felt like it was closing in from every side. But outside their private conversations, the public reaction was getting louder and more divided than ever. Fans were shocked, emotions ran high, and the family was left divided. Yandy don't deserve this, one fan posted. Tamar finally choosing herself, another argued. He playing both sides, a third added. And that last comment started gaining traction because people began noticing small details, things that did not add up, moments where Mendeecees seemed to shift his energy depending on who he was with. One clip showed him laughing with Tamar, relaxed, almost carefree. Another showed him standing next to Yandy days earlier, serious, guarded, almost distant. Which one is real? Fans started asking. And that question spread like wildfire. Because if there was one thing people could not stand, it was inconsistency. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, a meeting was arranged, one that was not supposed to happen but somehow became unavoidable. Yandy walked in first, her posture straight, her expression unreadable. She was not there to argue, she was there to understand, or maybe to confirm what she already knew. Mendeecees arrived moments later, his energy tense, his movements slower than usual, and when Tamar stepped in shortly after, the air shifted completely. No one spoke at first, the silence stretching longer than comfortable. Finally Yandy broke it. So this the plan? She said, her voice steady as she looked from one to the other. Are y'all still figuring it out? Tamar did not hesitate. We not figuring anything out, we already know what we want. Direct, clear, unapologetic. Yandy nodded slowly as if she expected that answer. And what exactly is that? Mendeecees opened his mouth, but Tamar spoke first again. A future that makes sense for us. That choice of words did not go unnoticed. For us, Yandy repeated quietly, then looked at him. And where do I fit in that? He hesitated, and that hesitation said more than anything else. I'm trying to be honest with you, he finally said. Honest would have been telling me before all this, she cut in, her voice still calm but now carrying an edge, not letting me find out like everybody else. That hit hard, and for a second even Tamar looked away. You think this easy for me? Mendeecees said, frustration creeping into his tone. You think I planned for it to happen like this? I think you made choices, Yandy replied instantly, and now you trying to explain them instead of owning them. That word own hung heavy in the room. Because that was the real issue, not just what happened but how it happened. Tamar stepped forward slightly, her voice softer now but still firm. Look, I'm not here to disrespect you. Yandy looked at her for the first time directly, really looked at her, but you did. No raised voice, no dramatic movement, just a simple statement that carried weight. Maybe in your eyes, Tamar replied, but I'm not gonna apologize for something that feels real to me. And there it was, the truth laid out in the open, no more hiding, no more pretending. The room felt smaller, the tension thicker, every second stretching longer than the last. Mendeecees ran his hands together, clearly feeling the pressure from both sides. This ain't how I wanted this conversation to go. How did you want it to go? Yandy asked calmly, because from where I'm standing this was always the ending you were heading towards. That line changed the energy completely. Because it forced him to face something he had been avoiding. This was not sudden, this was not accidental, this was built over time, moment by moment, choice by choice. And now it was all crashing together. Outside that room the world was still reacting, still watching, still waiting for the next move. But inside something shifted, something final. Yandy straightened slightly, taking a slow breath before speaking again. You know what the craziest part is, she said quietly, I'm not even surprised anymore. Those words landed harder than anger ever could. Because surprise leaves room for shock, for denial. But this was acceptance. And acceptance meant she was already moving on in her mind. Tamar studied her closely as if trying to read what came next, but there was nothing to read. Yandy was not giving anything away. So what now? Mendeecees asked, his voice lower, now uncertain in a way no one had heard before. Yandy paused for a moment, not because she did not know the answer but because she wanted him to feel the weight of the question. Now, she repeated softly, then looked at both of them. Now you live with what you chose? Simple words, but they carried a finality that shifted everything again. Because this was not a threat. It was a decision. And decisions have consequences. As she turned to leave the room, neither of them stopped her, and that silence spoke louder than anything else. Because deep down they both knew something had just ended. But at the same time something else had begun. And what they did not realize yet was that the next phase of this situation would be even more intense, even more unpredictable. Because Yandy was not done. She had just changed the way she was playing the game. And once that shift happens, nothing stays the same. Because once Yandy changed the way she was playing the game, everything else shifted in ways no one saw coming. The energy in the room thickened, and outside the world could feel it too, even without knowing the details. Fans were picking up on the tension, the subtle changes in behavior, the posts, the cryptic captions, the guarded smiles that didn't quite reach the eyes people noticed, and the speculation grew faster than anyone could track. They hiding something, one fan wrote. You can feel it. And that feeling was spreading like wildfire across every platform, every comment section, every thread, and as it spread it put more pressure on Tamar and Mendeecees, who were already trying to maintain some semblance of control. Tamar had been trying to keep everything casual in public appearances, but insiders said it was anything but casual behind the scenes. She moved with purpose, every appearance, every post, every story calculated to show confidence, yet also to protect herself from backlash from fans and the inevitable confrontation with Yandy. But even her most loyal supporters began noticing cracks, the subtle hesitation in her tone, the way she sometimes looked away when questions were asked, the slight tension in her body language, and suddenly the narrative that fans had been shaping on their own collided with reality. Tamar and Mendeecees were not just making a bold move, they were navigating a minefield, and every step could trigger an explosion. Mendeecees, on the other hand, was struggling more than he let anyone see. For months he had projected calm control, he had posted vague statements claiming rumors were exaggerated, but privately sources say he was second-guessing every decision, every word, every gesture. He started calling friends late at night asking for advice, sometimes asking for reassurance, and sometimes just venting, and each time, the circle of people who knew what was happening grew tighter but also more volatile. The pressure was mounting and no one knew how Yandy would respond next. And respond she did in a way that was quiet but powerful. She began to take small actions that set the tone for everyone around her. Minor moves like showing up unannounced at events, friends, parties, gatherings where Tamar and Mendeecees would be, but she didn't confront anyone. She simply existed in those spaces, and the effect was immediate. The energy shifted, conversations stalled, eyes followed her every move. The sense of control that Tamar and Mendeecees thought they had was slipping away, and fans noticed that too. Some cheering Yandy on, some speculating about how long it would take for her to make the next big move, and the tension became palpable. Every interaction scrutinized, every glance analyzed, every word replayed in clips and discussions over and over. And then came the leak, the next twist that no one saw coming. An alleged conversation between Mendeecees and a close friend surfaced online. It wasn't clear who had recorded it or why, but the content was explosive. He was heard discussing plans with Tamar and seemingly downplaying the impact on Yandy. The tone casual, but the words loaded with implication. Fans exploded across social media, dissecting every phrase, every pause, every laugh. The speculation that this was more than a romance became louder and louder, and suddenly the narrative wasn't just about a love triangle anymore. It was about power, control, betrayal, and the way the players were maneuvering for position and influence. Inside the private circles, emotions ran high, arguments erupted, friends took sides, alliances were formed and broken in hours. Tensions escalated, and soon what had been a slow-building storm became a full-blown hurricane of drama and confrontation. The word spread that Yandy was planning to respond publicly, but not in a way anyone expected. She scheduled a post for the next morning, an announcement that would force both Tamar and Mendeecees to acknowledge her presence in the situation, and everyone waited, holding their breath, wondering what it would say, how it would land, and what the fallout would be. Meanwhile, Tamar tried to maintain her composure, appearing confident in interviews and stories, her social media carefully curated, but insiders said that behind closed doors she was nervous. The stakes had changed, the rules had shifted, and she realized that Yandy's silence was no longer absence, it was strategy, and that strategy was deadly precise. And then came the moment where Mendeecees and Tamar faced each other. After the leak, they sat in silence, the weight of the situation pressing down on both of them. He tried to speak first, but she cut him off. "You think this is easy?" she asked quietly. "You think you can just plan and manipulate and everything stays fine?" He swallowed hard and shook his head, not knowing how to answer, because the truth was the ground beneath them had shifted and nothing felt stable anymore. And just when it seemed the storm could not get worse, a new rumor began circulating. Insiders claimed a potential date had been set, a location hinted at. The whispers were enough to send social media into a frenzy. Speculation again intensified, with fans creating narratives faster than reality could unfold. Every comment, every post, every story amplified the pressure on everyone involved, and somewhere in the middle of it all, Yandy was watching, waiting. The power dynamic shifted again. She had forced Tamar and Mendeecees to react to her inaction, and now the anticipation of her next move loomed over everyone like a shadow, and the family, the friends, the fans, everyone was caught in the gravity of what was happening. None of them could escape the feeling that the situation was about to explode into something that would define the rest of their public lives for months or even years to come. And in that charged atmosphere, no one knew who would make the next move, who would crack first, who would bend, who would break, and who would emerge in control of the narrative, because once the pieces were in motion, momentum had a life of its own, and everything was unpredictable, everything was volatile, and everything was about to change forever. And as the days unfolded, the tension only grew stronger. Every appearance, every post, every whisper was analyzed, dissected, and debated. Fans are shocked. Emotions ran high. The family was left divided. Tamar and Mendeecees' bold moves had set a chain reaction that no one could contain, and Yandy's quiet strength was changing the rules of the game entirely. The question that lingers now is simple but explosive. Will the decisions they've made bring peace, chaos, or something in between? Will loyalty and love survive this whirlwind, or will the bonds that once held them together shatter completely? The answers are still out there, waiting for the next twist, the next reveal, the next confrontation that is sure to leave everyone reeling. And that's where you come in. You've witnessed the drama, the betrayals, the unexpected moves, and now it's your turn to weigh in. Who do you think will come out on top? Can Yandy navigate this storm with her dignity intact, or will Tamar and Mendeecees' bold strategy succeed against all odds? We want to hear what you think. Comment below with your opinions, theories, and predictions, because this story is far from over, and every voice counts. Make sure you like this video to show your support for the channel, subscribe so you never miss an update on all the unfolding drama, and turn on notifications to be the first to know when new twists hit the scene. The drama is real, the stakes are high, and the next move could change everything. Don't miss a single moment. Stay tuned, stay engaged, and remember, your thoughts matter as much as the story itself.